This changes everything for the Edmonton Oilers as a new goaltending option could pop up on Edmonton's radar. Meanwhile, the Oilers will be without a very key member of the team to start off the season for at least the first month, anyways, of October. All that more today here on Oilers Digest. Second day training camp, which brings us one day closer to Oilers hockey. And you could bring us one step closer to 4,000 subscribers, as 69% of you watching these videos haven't hit that button down below. So for any and all Oiler content, this is the place to be. I mean, what better time than now to join the Oiler Digest bandwagon? But without further ado, let's get right into it here with a new goalie option for the Oilers in the form of Connor Ingram there from the Utah Mammoth. I almost called them the Arizona Coyotes. I was so used to Arizona for a very long time, but the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, their GM, their media day starting it off by saying that goaltender Connor Ingram will not be at the Mammoth training camp and will be put on waivers, says the team, as the goalies with Karel Vejmelka and Vitek Vanacek there. Vejmelka, I wanted him as an Oiler for so long there, but locked up by the Utah Mammoth, which, frees up Connor Ingram there, as back later or earlier in the year in March, he entered the NHL Player Assistance Program. Went through a very, very tough time personally there, but he cleared the assistance program and he is ready to kickstart his career once again there. Originally a Tampa Bay Lightning draft pick there, and then started off with the Nashville Predators, and then going to Arizona there, putting up a phenomenal season in 2022 23 and 23-24 there, with 6 shutouts in that season there. He's just been sort of just a backup in Arizona there, heading into Utah. He could be part of a 1A 1B tandem with Stuart Skinner in Edmonton here. Connor Ingram, fantastic, analytics there. He's entering the final year of his contract, which carries a cap hit of 1.95 million, which is a bargain for the Oilers. Posted an 882 save percentage and, minus 6.92 goals saved above expected in 22 starts last season. But again, going through a whole lot there. Personally, that would drag anybody's game in the NHL. But again, he's only 1 year removed from an outstanding 23-24 campaign in which he led the NHL with 6 shutouts and finished 13th with 17.68 goals saved above expected there. So, I mean, shining a light on Connor Ingram there. Every time I read more and more about him, he just screams an Edmonton Oiler to me. This is the type of goalie the Oilers needed for so long. Just someone that can, supplement Stuart Skinner between the pipes there. Again, a 1A, 1B. You don't need a guy to, take over completely in the crease, although that would absolutely be nice. The Oilers are in a position where, the entire league knows they need a goaltender there. So, a tandem is the best next case here. If Armstrong plans to put Connor Ingram on waivers, he's comfortable letting him go free of charge. The Oilers could fit Ingram on their roster and stay under the salary cap by sending Calvin Pickard to the minors there, along with one of David Tomasik, Matisse Yamark, or Kasperi Kapanen. I mean, Yamark would be, the cherry on top here. I mean, I love the guy, but he makes far too much for the role that he has on this team there, and by putting him in the minors to bring up to fit a better goalie in the roster, by all means, you absolutely have to do that whenever you can. And they could also trade out a contract crew to create space there. And it seems no list of teams, needing goaltending is obviously complete without the Edmonton Oilers. Stan Bowman said Wednesday to the media that he likes where the team is with Stuart Skinner entering the season as the starter, but adding another goalie to the depth chart certainly would not hurt there. Ingram may not be a flashy team-altering acquisition in net, but at the very least, he could serve as an upgrade over Calvin Pickard at the backup spot if he can return to form there. And I mean, behind a fantastic defense in the Oilers there analytically, anyways, with the Oilers, limiting the high danger chances. Ingram, what better spot than the Oilers there? From Blue Bull Brad here on Twitter. Blue Bull Brad, there we go, much clearer. Goals against per 100 expected goals against since 22-23. They're using the evolving hockey model there analytically. I mean, Skinner and Ingram, pretty close there. Skinner, 91.6 goals against per 100 expected goals against, and Ingram very, very close at 93.6. And then further on down the road there, Pickard at 101.9 there. So if that's not, a screaming upgrade over Calvin Pickard, again, I don't know how this could be much more clear to you. He would be phenomenal in the Oilers organization there. But the downside, It's not as easy as you think, folks. If Ingram does go on waivers, someone will likely claim him before the Oilers can place their claim, as they do sit 24th in waiver priority. If they want to make a low-risk, low-cost upgrade, they must be proactive in maybe in the form of a trade, get the jump start there on, getting Connor Ingram in this organization. Sure, I know waivers, it's free, but again, it comes at the cost of having to, wait for the other teams in front of you to go, okay, maybe they don't need a goalie, but again, some of the awful teams in the NHL, they are, licking their chops when it comes to, they also upgrade their goaltending. The Buffalo Sabres, they just seem to be a goalie graveyard for the past couple of years. The Philadelphia Flyers, the Ottawa Senators. So the Oilers are not the only team in the need of an upgrade. They're not in need. It's a must for an upgrade. But when it comes to, all the noise surrounding, trying to upgrade the goaltending on this team, Stuart Skinner is, no stranger to the noise, especially with how crazy about hockey everyone is in Edmonton there. I mean, 2 straight kicks at the can for the Stanley Cup, unable to do so. But he says everyone's got an opinion. Looking back, it's been pretty incredible. Calder Trophy nomination, All-Star game in 2023, 2 straight finals, but haven't won. People in this town want to win. They want to see the cup there. So Stuart Skinner knows the immense pressure on his shoulders heading into this year there, but he's cracking a smile saying, the weight loss that was reported, it was, he's reported at, 205 pounds, but he is at 250 in there. So, it's a little more realistic there from, 230 down to 215 and seeing 230 to 205. I mean, get a doctor involved if that was the case. But Stuart Skinner, you obviously know my opinion on him. I would love if he had a bounce back year this year for the Oilers, but it would take a lot there. Not just a new goalie coach, but just, going back to the drawing board on the entire goaltending position and how he has performed. Sure, he's been, consistently inconsistent. You can see him, lights out against, the Vegas Golden Knights in the Dallas Stars, but you get to the Florida Panthers, and that's when it just crumbles 2 years in a row there. But for the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, some more, not so good news here for the Oilers. Kris Knoblauch says likely early November for Zach Hyman. Stan Bowman and Zach Hyman were sort of saying, okay, well, we don't know what the timeline is. Hopefully, doesn't miss too much time there. But straight from the horse's mouth, Kris Knoblauch, likely early November there. So, missing a month of game action. Not very ideal, but it also does bring some opportunity for other Oiler wingers to sort of step up in his place before he returns, as 2 groups today at training camp for the Oilers. This is the first on ice day. You can see, Connor McDavid with Andrew Mangiapane and David Tomasic on his left side there. Adam Henrique, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Matt Savoy. And then Max Jones, Noah Phillip, and Curtis Lazar. I'm not going to go through every line and pairing here, but just, sort of the main ones who I'm looking at, the defensive pairings, Ekholm and Bouchard, death taxes, and 14-2 on that top pairing there, Riley Stillman, Troy Stetcher, and then Atro Lepinen and Alec Regula. I'm very excited to see what Atro Lepinen could bring to the table, and then Damien Carfagna in Bo Akey with Stuart Skinner in Calvin Pickard there, and Connor McDavid, bombarded by the media once again there when it comes to, his contract. But he was also asked about, a guy like David Tomasic playing over in Europe. They're finally coming over to North America. What kind of skills can he bring to the Oilers? David saying, big guy. Obviously, he's played lots of pro and played at a high level. You can tell that and see it on the ice. Great shooter. Every single time he goes out on a drill, he seems to score. And that's a talent that not everyone seems to have there. So, Connor McDavid does not mince words when it comes to his teammates there, but loving what he's seeing from Tomasic there. And, the contract situation, not really much to report. Obviously, we think about it, we talk about it, gauge where we're at, what we're feeling. Nothing's really changed as of now, and just excited to be here at camp and get rolling. And it's an exciting time for us and for the rest of the league. And yeah, we're excited. I mean, media train answer there, but that's to be expected there from number 97 there, not wanting to reveal his hand to the media there. And again, just, feeling it out and, just giving him his space, which he's absolutely deserved at this point there. But that was just the first group for the Oilers, but the second group there with Vasily Podkolzin stapled next to Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl loving Vasily Podkolzin anytime, he gets to, mention Podkolzin, praises the hell out of him and just loves his work ethic and the way he plays on the ice, myself included. I mean, you have to get Podkolzin locked up for a long period of time, otherwise other teams will realize the work ethic. Does he put up the points? Not so much, but again, he's just a dog out there, and that is what the Oilers need there. And then Kasperi Kapanen on the right side. Something that was very, very interesting to me is Ike Howard on the second line there for, the group 2 lines there with Trent Frederick and Matisse Janmark, but, over, a guy like Quinn Hudson, Roby Yarventi, or those two specifically. I mean, Tom Lee Olaf right near on the fifth line, I should say. That's to be expected there, but interesting how, Howard automatically jumps over, the two prospects that, were, highly ranked in the Oilers organization there. And on the back end there, there's Wallman, Brett Kulak, and Ty Emberson, Cam Denis, Josh Brown, and then Mason Millman and Luke Prokop there, the two, PTOs that were invited to the Oilers this year there. So Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Kapanen, with no Hyman, still skating on his own there. Lots of opportunity for the Oilers to, sort of go, okay, what can we do in the meantime to sort of build chemistry and see who works with each other there before Hyman comes back, and we will see something more regular there. And again, with Howard in Savoy, it'd be interesting to see them start in the bottom 6 there to sort of, get themselves adjusted to the NHL game, because of course, if either one of them are with, Draisaitl and McDavid, I would love Savoy with Draisaitl, but on the bottom 6, you're not up against the top pairing defenseman there, and you don't get as frustrated as you get adjusted. But again, time will tell what Kris Knoblauch in the Oilers will do with their pairings. But also the Hyman situation, if he is out the first month, the Oilers could submit the opening roster with 226,000 projected cap space dollars, then put Hyman on LTIR and be able to exceed the cap by 3.6 million while he's out. Assuming no LTIR, they'd have to be back under the cap once they're healthy, but that gives the Oilers an opportunity to have a bigger roster with no Hyman. They can exceed the cap by 3.8 million, and they could have Jones up and send Curtis Lazar and Troy Stetcher down, leaving $0 to 13,000 space to start there. And again, do the flip flop, do the whole AHL call up, the paper transactions and all that. I do believe that was outlawed with the new CBA, but I'm not too sure if that started with this season or the next there. But again, the Oilers have all these cap people to sort of figure that out on their own. But that is it for day 2 of training camp, and let me know down in the comments what you think about the whole Hyman situation. The bait and switch, we all expected him to be, not miss too much time, but then, that snowballed into a month there. And who would you like to see on the top line to start the season there with Connor McDavid, with no Zach Hyman? Would you still have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins next to him? Would you have Nuge playing the third line center? But again, lots of combinations to ponder over, and let me know down in the comments what you would like to see. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, folks, make sure you do so to join us for any and all Oiler news. But take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Matt.